Let's go and find the fallen star. So I bought the first adventure of Dungeons in a Box. I did the unboxing. I will leave the link to the video in the eye above. Spoiler warning, if you don't want to know the adventure, you've been warned. I try and play this solo. So I'm using two things from Mythic. I'm using the Mythic with published adventures. Then I'm using from the Mythic magazine this troop style solo adventures, which means the problem is that this adventure is for 4 to 6 players plus a GM. I will do that all by myself, GM and using the players. So what Mythic tells you, which I think is a cool idea, you split the group and you have one main character. Now, as I will show you right now, I have these Dungeons and Dragons class cards. We grabbed 4. We put them in their levels, so our main character was a bard. Then we have the first right hand to our main character, which we rolled up, or we grabbed a fighter. And then you have 2 secondary characters, or as many as you have, where we had the druid and the barbarian. So now what you do, mostly you use your primary character, the main player, and we get support from the other ones. You have the secondary character. This is similar to the primary, but it's not the focus of the adventure. And the supporting characters are less important than the primary or secondary, yet serve a supporting role in some way. So the way I use this for this adventure, our bard, his name is Simon, he had a bit of a fallout with his family, so he want to show them what he's capable of. And he comes from a noble house. He grabbed himself some help in form of a fighter and his group. And with them, he's trying to find the fallen star that should grant him a wish. Now, Mythic with a solo adventure. Mythic tells you to read as far ahead. Mythic tells you to just read the introduction, not go any further. I was flipping through the booklet, and of course, there's no other way than to see things. Even when you open the box, you see a few spoilers, but I'm excited as well. Now, our group. I want to read you something. The adventure begins as the party descends down a single strand of rope into the long abandoned ruins of the Monastery of the Arched Sky. So I have a map that was in my dungeon box. We landed. Now, the way I'm doing this expedition, Simon is the leader. He is paying for everything. He promised the other 3 a lot of money when helping him. Money we know he does not have at the moment. We only have 44 gold coins based on our character creation. The other don't know that. So what I did is I made these. For Simon, we can use everything in his Dungeons and Dragons profile. For Nick, our human fighter, I have their stats, everything, hit points, AC, initiative, and proficiencies, their stats, then saving throws and senses. Then I have given them 4. There's the druid one. I have given him 4 proficiencies. These are the ones that he had proficiency in it. So Nick is good in animal handling, history, perception, and survival. He's not good in persuasion. Then, because he is our secondary character, we gave him a greatsword and a longbow. And I put down the unarmed strikes. And he has a short rest as a bonus action, and he can speak Common and Elvish. For the other 2, I put down the same amount of information. Our human barbarian, she only has a great axe to use and a long rest, a rage, and she only speaks Common. So there are less things they can do, and we don't track anything on them. And the druid has only guidance, spare the dying, healing word, and the unarmed strike. And he only has 2 level 1s spells at the moment. So this is a bit easier to handle, I hope, so we don't have to use 4 different character sheets with all the informations on it. We'll see how we can work this out. So first things first, I would love to look around in the first room that we landed in. So room number 1, we landed in the Tomb Raider's camp. What we see when we came down, this mostly ruined chamber used to be the antechamber to the temple. Remnants of Magnus' expedition are still here. Cots, boxes of supplies, and mining equipment all rotten or corroded past the point of usability. So let's do an investigation. We need to beat a 16. So Simon has an investigation plus 3, and he has advantage on it. So let me grab 2 dice. We have a natural 20 on this one. So they're looking through everything in it. A thorough investigation of the supplies turns up Magnus's mark, a red MB still visible on the rotten wood of a crate, and 1d4 discarded but usable torches. We have Rock as our human druid. He's really great in history. So he knows about Magnus, he knows about the temple. So while they find this MB marked, he knows that this means Magnus barrel block, the expedition that was last seen in this temple, and they find 4 torches. Let's see. 1. Great. So we're going to grab that torch. So we look around, and As in the temple, the walls here are made of heavy blocks of fitted sandstone. At one point, a decorative relief was carved into them, but time has worn them smooth, and they now retain only a hint of the former handiwork. A few tilted and cracked flagstones can still be seen stuck in the otherwise rough clay and dirt passage. So I want to have a look around if we missed anything. Now, I'm, as the GM, know there is no more to be found, but I feel like Simon wants to look better. So let's do a perception check. Well, let's ask Nick, our secondary character, to do it for us. Simon is going over to him and tell him, "Hey, can you have a look around? I really want to see if I didn't miss anything." So let's do a perception check +3, and he has to beat this die. Only a 2. We have a 15. So here's my problem now. Yeah, there's nothing more to get from our script here. And so there's a huge difference between these two. So why don't we say we missed torches, 3 torches. And let's have this. So we have one more. We found one more torch. Now this isn't part of the adventure. This was just my instinct. So now we are moving inside room number 2. This great chamber served as a crypt for the elders of the temple. The room has largely succumbed to the passage of time, but glimpses of its magnificence remains. Heaps of earth have pushed through the once strong sandstone walls, but those that stand are decorated by a relief of swirling clouds and shining stars that runs the entire perimeter of the room. The otherwise closely fitted flagstone floor is marred by deep cracks. Most marvelous, however, is is the vaulted ceiling that rises to a height of 15 feet overhead. The entire ceiling is painted a deep royal blue, flecked with countless flakes of mica and quartz. When a light source is brought within, the ceiling glints and flickers like stars in the night sky. So the room is lined with sarcophagi that hold the remains of important members of the order. The lids of the sarcophagi have all either been leveraged off or smashed open, the handiwork of Magnus' men. Let's do an investigation again. Do we want to send someone? No, I feel like Simon, he wants to find everything first. He wants to see. Let's do another investigation check. He wants to see everything first. Well, we have advantage again. 10 and 6 +3. I beat it by 1. So investigating the tombs reveals nothing but moldering scraps of clothes and dusty skeletons of the long dead. The bones in each sarcophagus are jumbled and disturbed, long since looted by Magnus's men. If there was anything of worth in them before, it's now gone. So we now ask a passive perception of 12 or higher. We have an 11 at Simon, 13. Yeah. So all of our crew, except for Simon, they notice dried mud tracks that crisscross the room. So, who has the highest intelligence? 11, 12. So, Rock, our druid, investigation or nature check. We need a DC 15 plus 2. Only 2. No. So, behind the one of the sarcophagus, we see a door. The stone door, carved with an ornate pattern, seemed to lead to a small room. The chamber is sealed by a heavy stone door without visible hinges or handles. The surface of the door is carved with an abstract design of concentric circles, diagonal lines, and circular depressions, all marked with abstract runes. So, as a GM, I ask Simon to do a DC 12 intelligence check. Investigation, which we have a plus 3 disadvantage, DC of 12. We have a 19 on this die, so we succeed. Reveals the presence of a trap. So we can try to open the door using thieves' tools. Simon does not have them, and I don't have inventory for the other 3 guys. So let's ask if one from the crew has thief tools with them, and let's use a 50-50 chance. No. I mean, they're working as adventurers, so I feel like thief tools they will have. So let's say likely 65 or lower. 76. Okay, they don't have that. So Simon asks them, do you have any thief tools with you? And no one seems to have that. So he asks, does anyone else have anything that could help us? No. Rock, our human druid, he tells us he can make an arcana check. We need a DC 12. He has plus 4. 11 plus 4 is 15. So the door depicts the location of several celestial objects at the precise time of the year. Each of the objects is marked with a small arcane rune. So Rock knows that the door has runes on them, and they decide, because of the trap, because they don't know what to do at the moment, leave it, and we will see if we can come back to this. Simon feels like it's not just going to be in the second room they look at. They move on now. Now they could go over here, or they could go and look at this pool. Let's do a investigation check. We need to hit a 3 only. Investigation plus 3. Yeah, definitely. So, which means that Simon sees a reflection from the pool. They decide to go through the pool, or to the pool. Now, what do they see? This mostly collapsed chamber is dominated by a large pool of clear water. I think the pool is more of a nature based material. So Simon asks Rock if he could look inside the water and see if he can see anything. Now, Rock, he's pretty scared. He hides behind his spells, his power, so he's too scared to go close to the water. He tries to, but he just leaves. He says no, right? 23, yeah. He definitely doesn't do it. So we look at Nick, our second in command, and he's like rolling his eyes and, okay, I'm going to do it. Let's do a perception check. DC is 12. 15 plus 3. So he examines the water and he sees a lot of bones. And looking at it, looking at his survival skills that he has, he sees that the bone protrusions are all part of a large dragon skull covered in sediment. Let's do a DC 20 intelligence. He has a 0, so we need a natural 20 to do so. 12. No. You just see the dragon skull on the bottom of the lake. Is there anything else that he sees? They need to beat an 18. 13. No. He doesn't see anything else. The water is too dark and too reflective from from this side. So the dragon skull, they're not going to dip their feet into the water or anything, but behind them they see another room. So Nick, no, Rock has the higher history. Rock, he's scared, right? As we saw before, he did not want to watch the pool. So why is he in this adventure with us? My personal idea or thought process was they took him with him because of his history knowledge. And he knows a lot about the expedition that was in here before from Magnus. So he also knows a lot about this dungeon or this monastery that we're in at the moment. So when he turns around and he sees the next room, he knows that we're in a forgotten orrery. So we're going to tell them this magnificent room houses the remains of a strange orrery. This room once allowed the temple acolytes to study the precise movements of the planes and important celestial bodies. So we're going to do a Arcana check with Rock. Only 4. 4 is 8. So he knows it's a orrery, but he doesn't know anything about it. But there's something else he sees. While he was looking at the door before, the one to the room with the trap, we saw runes, and this orrery has the same runes on it. They match. And it tells us a character who has examined both objects automatically recognize that some of the runes match. So here's the problem. Rock, he's pretty sure that they can match the door from the room with this circle, right? But he is pretty sure that he is not strong enough. Who has the highest strength from all? It's Nick, +6. So Rook asks Nick, can you go down and try to align the runes the same way that we saw at the door? I will help you move them into the right spot. So DC 14 strength. 8 plus the 6. So we have 14. That was close. So because this mechanism stopped working long ago, but with a lot of force and a lot of time, he starts moving them around. And as soon as he has the same runes, they hear a rumbling through the whole monastery that they're in. So, GM note, if the athletics check was a success, all creatures in the room benefit from the bless. On a failure, we did not have that. So as soon as they hear this rumble through the halls, Simon just starts off, go back to the room that was closed before. Let's say Ava and Nick follow. But Rock is too mesmerized from this runic orrery that he just stays there. So when they go inside, the cramped, dark room contains ceremonial robes worn by the highest ranking members of the temple in a trunk that is made from polished wood, banded with gold. Small inlaid mother of pearl stars decorate the edges of the chest, and a simple clasp holds it shut. There is no lock on the chest, and it is not trapped. So let's do a check. 9. It wasn't locked, it wasn't trapped, so we're fine. So inside the chest rests a neatly folded robe of miraculous make, woven of dense black silk and embroidered with tiny glittering stars across the shoulders and chest. This robe is a magical item known as the Lesser Robe of Stars, and was worn by the highest ranking members of the order. The chest itself is an art object worth 50 gold coins. Okay, we have a stat block for the Lesser Robe of Stars, like in here. A character who is attuned to this robe gains +1 to all saving throws while wearing it. In addition, they can pluck one of 6 stars from the front of the robe and use it to cast magic missile as a 5th level caster. Once all 6 stars have been used, the robe loses all of its magical properties. The wearer is also able to tell the time and locate north merely by looking at the stars, and has advantage on all ability checks to navigate by the stars. Put that into the inventory. So I found this rope of stars, which is almost exactly what we are looking for. So the only thing that it doesn't have is that you can spring on different planes. I think it's because it's a lesser rope of stars. So before we end here, I want to go back to Rock. He's still at the orrery and he does an arcana check on it. We have a +4, we need a DC of 15. Let's use him. 16 +4 is 20. he figures out the possible effects of the magic circle. So, thanks to this check, Rock can now see all the magical effects this already has. So it can either grant the bless, protection from evil and good, fairy fire on random target in room, vision of the future, wild magic search, or death ward on one random creature. So they gotten the bless spell. Now I'm not quite sure how to put that in. So I will give them a D4 for the next roll. So he could do a strength check to see if he can get the desired result. He would love to look into the future, or there are really good effects on there. But he doesn't know what's going to happen to the door if he tries to turn them, because as of now, they are all in the room. Let's give ourselves a 50-50 chance. Is Rock going to change the pattern of the runes? 1 to 10, he will leave it alone. 11 to 20, he will try and change it. 7, he leaves it alone. And that's when we fade out of this monastery. I hope you like this. There are still a lot of rooms that we haven't even touched, and I hope to see you next week when we go deeper into this monastery. I hope you have a lovely week and hope to see you soon. Bye.